to my computer starting now.
Oh yeah, sorry. I can
It's
repeat
okay.
that.
No,
All
it's
right.
okay. I just was getting excited.
Ah,
So recording is recording is started. Okay, so we have hi Joseph, Jesse, and one of you.
oh,
Hey
hey.
everyone.
Hi. We were gonna. Did you come with anything particular to pair on, or you want to pair on someone else, something from somebody else? Because we have something we're starting on, but we can make sure we leave time if you have something else.
No, nothing from my side. Just yet to observe.
Cool. Okay, awesome. SAML it is.
All right. Yeah, so I'll just read it real quickly. The objective is to get SAML approval on MRs, or rather said, before someone approves an MR, there should be a re-authentication with SAML.
Okay.
And I'm currently just trying to wrap my head around how everything even works. And yeah, trying to come up with an implementation plan and seeing all the missing pieces I have of how this actually works. Yeah.
Great. Do you have an issue you could send us, or did you put it in the channel somewhere?
I'm gonna grab it. Hold on. Actually, right now it's an epic, but there is an issue attached to it. Let me put it in chat. There we go.
I'm putting this in the notes so I can include that in the.
Yeah, it's been there for quite a bit. Was left dormant for a while. Most of the comments are about a year old.
Okay. So do you want to maybe screen share as we talk through it, or
Let's
we can
do
all look
that.
at it
Yeah.
on our own screens? Okay.
My first question is, how come it says right at the top it was created 6 hours ago, but the comments go back 9 months?
It was that's the magic of promoting an issue to an epic.
Roger.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. There is an activity item. I was going to say, do we at least have an activity item for that? We do. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Share. Where is it? There we go. Right. There's the issue. Yeah, it was promoted from issue to epic, and that's why it was confusing that way. Yeah. So I'm splitting this. Plan was to split this up into a backend and a front end part, and start with the backend first. Yeah. So where I'm initially kind of stuck on is figuring out if I want to send a reauth request. I'll have to, as far as I've understood it, is provide a good callback, or there's a callback URL that SAML will redirect to once they're authenticated, right? Jesse, feel free to say nay when I say something wrong. So where I'm having trouble finding out in the code is where could I grab on to parameters that I've added. Like, for example, I would want to add a reference to the MR that we're approving and sort of tag the action as this is for an approval. I've tried getting into some of the callbacks we have. I think we have an OmniAuth callbacks controller, but I didn't get very far with that.
Okay. So is the interaction here going to be that there is a user who is logged in but they don't have a valid SSO, SAML SSO session. Is that the state that they're in?
They could be in either they're not logged in, or they are already logged in, but like the last login, I think the time frame is still up for debate. But if they haven't authenticated in the last 5 minutes, they would be asked to re-authenticate.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I
So it's
think a
like a
lot of
super
this.
secure, like it's not that we're saying you're not logged in, you gotta log in. We're saying like we
Yeah.
gotta make sure that you're.
Yeah, it's I think the background for this came from an FDA regulation that for compliance reasons they need to ensure that the person who's approving is actually that same person. So they want to sort of get around someone left their laptop on, or try to reduce that. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So this will be, I assume, like an additional setting, just to understand kind of the general context. There'll be some like additional settings that an org might
Yeah,
enable
exactly.
that says like we
This
want
would
the
need to
super
be.
secure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would be like similar, like we already have required password to approve done in a similar way, and this would sort of add on to that and have SAML to approve. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And okay, so this is going to be gated behind a setting, and we have access to the MR? Do we have it handy? The one where the email verification was added. I'm curious how that was done.
Email, or do you mean password?
Password, sorry. The other one.
Okay.
The other thing.
The other one.
Password. Oh,
I
there's a
think
hyperlink. That's just to docs.
not sure
Oh,
when was this added.
It says it's introduced in 12.0. There's a little link for an issue. If you go under the require user password to approve subheader in here. Do you see that? Is that on this page? Here, I can send you in the chat. Require user password to approve, and then there's the version history on there.
Searching for my Zoom chat. Hold on.
I know, it always takes me a long time.
Yeah.
And then that leads you to and then yeah, if you go to the 12.introduced and then the MR related merge requests, add a force authentication for, or is that the one? Force authentication for approval?
This might be the one, yeah.
4 years ago.
That's been a while, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's adding a setting. And you can let me know also if you would rather investigate this in a different way. For me, this is how I feel like I always start, as I'm like, what other features do we have that are similar to this? Let me see how they did it. And then go from there. But that's not always the right approach. So it's in the API.
Wonder if this is still like that.
Still there? Doesn't exist anymore? There it is.
Yeah.
approval setting. I like your typeface here. It's an unusual serif font.
Huh?
Kind of serif. Your font here is kind of interesting. Okay, so where's the password one? Require a password to approve. What are you looking for in here?
Just want to see.
Oh, okay. Eligible for approval by.
Yeah, if there was something changed there, but that's probably role based now that I look at it, and not the session based.
Eligible for approval by. Do you want to go into that method and see, or you don't
We
think?
can check that out. That's on merge request.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. User. Yeah, that's a test. Oh, it's in the approvable module or concern. Oh, for approval by. Cool. Oh yeah,
It's role based. Okay.
it's role based. Although I will say one thing I run into with respect to SAML enforcement that's tricky is, user.can is making a policy check, right? In one of our policy classes in either app policies or EE app policies.
Yeah.
Some of those policy classes do check for an active SAML session, which isn't exactly what you want because you're not looking for an active SAML session. You want to just prompt SAML authentication, but it is possible that does a check. They check for more than just role is basically what I'm trying to say. Those policy classes, they check for sometimes settings and things like that. So there's just sometimes too much in there. I don't love that.
I don't know if it's going to be relevant, but I think maybe that method is also overridden in EE. There's EE app models concerns EE approvable, which overrides the same method.
Ooh. Always fun.
It might not even matter for this conversation, but
No, it's always good to look
Keeping in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Approval feature available. Interesting. What is approval? This is like the rabbit hole. What is approval feature available? Merge request approvers. Oh, okay.
I see.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. I've noticed in the OmniAuth callback controller that there seems to be methods to fetch some params from the auth. And it returns, and looks like we use that for some tracking things and to mark if something's a trial, like an ultimate trial. Yes, but What I've had trouble trying to figure out was how to sort of inject a different flow. Because the usual flow is it logs you in and it redirects back where you wanted to go, right? Or where the wherever I think we have store location for, where we store it. I think we use that. Something rings a bell there.
Yeah, we have
or not.
I was looking for SSO enforcement redirect RB is what I was thinking of.
Say that again.
There's a file in SSO enforcement redirect RB. I was actually just looking at this for an unrelated issue before we got on this call, so it's top of mind. Yeah, that's the file. So this if you look at the URL params at the bottom of this, like the last method in here.
Yeah.
So we take the full path and we save it as the redirect. So when somebody is redirected for SSO reasons, we save as the parameter the full path of where they were trying to go, and then we just like redirect them back there after they SSO successfully.
Right. One other thing I've tried to wrap my head around but couldn't come to a conclusion yet is how do I make sure that this approval is part of a response from SAML and not just someone calling the same URL, like if they would know what to pick. Not saying that out loud, maybe. Yeah, I could add some sort of token, but yeah, I want to be able to make sure that someone calling the approve actually happened like in the response from a SAML and not just them calling the method.
Well, there will be some, I believe there's an attribute on the user, like we know when the user last authed with SAML, don't we? I don't off the top of my head know what that attribute would be. If it's like last login at or whatever, but assuming it's on the user themselves, you could look at current user and say, oh, this user last auth within this amount of time via SAML, and so we know that they're eligible.
Yeah.
Something like that. Do you feel like, I don't know how you usually like to do features like this. Do you feel like writing like a high level test could help us get started with it, or would you rather kind of dig more into the actual implementation? Because sometimes I feel like it's hard to like figure out like how's it all going to work in terms of without really understanding the full flow that's going to happen. But I mean, we'll have different methods of doing these things.
Coach, but yeah, usually I try to get the pieces in my head to understand where the change needs to be made, and then try to start from there in small parts.
Okay, so kind of like more of a starting with the more internal implementation and moving out.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Usually try to, it's hard to keep everything in my head at once. That's becomes overwhelming quickly.
Totally.
All right. Let's see where to go.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out, and I can look through the MR more closely for the password auth piece. When we require password, where in the code is that happening, or where are we checking that the password is valid in that approval flow?
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
Service.
There's an approval password.
Okay, so it's the merge request approval service is ultimately where we're going to be processing this logic, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we start in there and we figure out what attribute of the user, because I don't think it's going to param we're going to get passed in, right? It'll be
approval
or the SAML auth. Like, I think the way this seems to work is that the user has like typed in their password, and then we pass that to approval service, and we're like, okay, is this the right password? If so, allow them to approve. But we, in a SAML context, are not going to know their password. We're just going to know whether they have successfully SAML auth or not.
True.
And I don't think that's going to come in the form of a parameter. I suppose it could. But I believe when a user, this is where I should know the answer to this. I believe when a user has successfully SAML auth, we save that state in such a way that we shouldn't have to like pass parameters around to know, oh, this SAML auth worked. We should be able to like look at the user object or look at the session information and pull it from there.
Okay. All right. Let's take some notes here. We have the
So I feel like that if we can get hold of that time, the time of the last authentication, that's a good approach to take. The only question being from a feature point of view, like, is it acceptable if the user like SSO login and then they immediately go to the MR page and press merge? Is that acceptable that they can get away with that from a feature perspective or not? Or do we need to ask them again?
The feature is if they, it's like the first, let me recheck. Well, this feature in this iteration, it doesn't matter as much, but like the ultimate implementation would be that they would have to, like the first time in their session, they try to approve something, they need to log in. And if they don't, let's say they don't log in and again for the next 10 minutes, or their session is older than 10 minutes, then they would have to do it again. But like after the first one, after the first approve, like in the next 10 minutes, they could approve any without re-authenticating again. So they sort of have like a grace period. Like we know you just had a SAML auth, so it's fine for the next 10 minutes. And if you take longer than that, you step away, then we'll need to re-auth.
And then it's acceptable if they've just logged in, is it, within 10 minutes and they haven't had to re-log in via the merge button?
I would assume that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, that's a lot simpler. I mind.
Yeah. Okay.
I just put in this file path. Sorry to make you go to the chat again. If you want to look just in SSO Enforcer RB.
I'll grab it.
Okay, that is, I think that's the class that we're going to want to look into to know when the user last SAML authed. Were you already here? I don't think so. If you'll see, there's like active session question mark in there. And so it's looking at session information, but it does so default session timeout is 1 day ago.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to do something different, but I feel like this might be what you're looking for in terms of where to pull information about when the user last SAML auth.
Yeah, it looks like we can pass a time frame here, any arbitrary one.
Active sense seems like a bad name. I'm like, I think what this method is asking is, has this user logged in this period of time? But I don't know, given its poor naming situation.
Cut off, yeah.
Latest sign in.
Yeah, weird name, but yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Sessionless. Guess we have a latest sign in. We can go from there.
It's odd that it says true if sessionless. No active session data initiated. Figure that out later.
I think it's because of the weird wording. Maybe if this was, let's see. This was this way, worded this way, it might be different. I don't know.
Expire. Oh, so this means inactive?
Yeah. Like if has it been active since 1 day and the sign is more than 1 day away, then yeah, it's too old basically. Yeah, because you're passing in a cutoff date. And it, yeah.
So when time is greater, I love comparisons when it comes to time because it's so confusing. When your latest sign in is greater than the cutoff, that means it's more recent, right? It's like it was 1 hour ago. 1 hour ago is greater than 24 hours ago when you're using comparison operators.
Yeah. The only thing that trips me up is if it has a latest sign in, it already. Oh, if not, sorry, never mind. I tripped up on unless.
Always.
So do we know what's in that active session data? Like right in the last method is latest sign in, right? Active session data for this SAML. What is that? Is that a timestamp or is it an object?
Active session data. I don't know.
Because that's what's being used for the comparison, right? The return of the last method there. Yeah, line 43. What is that thing?
What is it? Yeah.
Look at it. Namespace session store.
Cutoff was a constant, wasn't it? Where it was being called. It was like default session expiry or something.
Yes. You mean default session timeout?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. SSO enforcer RB. Yeah, so I feel like if you want to start on the inside out and just do the logic, the very like lowest level logic first, wouldn't that be starting with this service, the merge requests approval service, and in there saying if this setting is set, make sure that active sense cutoff of arbitrary timestamp 15 minutes ago, whatever, is true, and then allow it. And that's kind of this like the most low level piece.
I think that sounds. It's my spot there. Version. I think yeah, this is supposed to be an E feature, so.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that is often something that I forget to inquire about when I first start working on a feature. Who gets this feature? And then
Yep.
I'm like, oh, oops. So this is EE. Is it an ultimate feature? Is it a premium feature?
Yeah.
It's all of the above.
Yeah. This, as far as I know, is supposed to be ultimate. I am hunting. Sorry. Wrong tab. No, I don't see it listed here right now, but from memory, I think this was supposed to be. Okay, there it is. Premium, at least, yeah.
So premium and ultimate.
Oh no, sorry, that was read too quickly.
What do you mean? It does say like it's premium.
This just says I have a premium
interest. I just premium interested. Oops. Are we gonna disappoint them? Are we gonna disappoint them? So yeah, this is a good question to ask in terms of.
Yeah, but I think SAML auth. Do we have? I'm not sure if that isn't a premium feature itself.
I think it's premium. The question is it ultimate?
Oh yeah, true.
Ultimate. I know, like in I don't know if you experienced this. I feel like a lot of the features I've worked on, there's kind of a push to make them ultimate features. Like they're trying to like add more differentiation between premium and ultimate, because ultimate is quite a lot more expensive than premium. So it's like, well, that can make a difference in terms of the appeal of the plan.
Yeah, almost anything I work on in compliance is usually an ultimate feature, so I don't even question it sometimes.
Oh, you don't? Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah, because like basically everything is always an ultimate feature. So yeah, I might need to double check that though, because this came from a different direction. So
yeah. Another question I was going to ask is, so this was promoted to an epic. Is that because you anticipate that it will be multiple MRs to write this feature, or just that you're splitting it between backend and front end? And if so, how would you split it up?
Yeah, I was anticipating that it probably will be multiple MRs. One, yeah, like you said, front end and back end will be a different split, basically. So I wanted to have that split up in itself already. And the back end part, there's like sort of the I was probably because I was looking at the bigger picture together with the FTA compliance request, where the people also had to like sign their name or something. That was like the initial request. They had to like type in their name and then authenticate, and they had to have their name in there with it.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah, that's like a really obscure. I read through the requirements document. It's like, okay, anyone can type any name in there. Okay, maybe SAML is the better approach there. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't just say I'm John Doe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was sort of why I was already anticipating maybe it's a little bit more complicated there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, certainly whenever adding, well, the debate I always have with myself on MRs like this, like, you're going to do a database migration because you have to add a setting. And
Yeah.
so the question I always ask myself is, do I just bundle that in with the whole feature, or do I just create the setting in its own MR because I know I'm going to have to do it? And hopefully that's like an easy peasy merge because you're just like, hey, I'm adding a setting, and everyone's like, cool, that's very simple. But then you have to handle that whole flow, right? Then you're managing multiple MRs at a time, potentially. There's dependencies, and that gets complicated. So
Yeah. That's the trade-off, right? One MR might be easier to review, but then you're managing that whole shebang. So that's true. That's the other part, is that there's going to be a setting for this as well. So people are going to have to be able to enable it or not in the group settings. So that's another.
And for self-managed, is there an interest in it being an instance-wide setting, or because there is instance-wide SAML?
True. That's a good point. I'm going to add that to the questions.
That too. Is this a group setting? Is this an instance setting? Is it both?
Yeah, I'll have to figure that out as well. Good point.
I'm curious about your note-taking situation. What is your like organizational structure, or how do you do these notes? Do you keep them
well,
around?
usually just throw something into a temp file, and then if it's more important, I'll move it to a Rome file.
Oh, interesting. You're a roamer.
Yeah, I'm a roamer. And usually I'll try to use it to like have a list of things I need. Every day when I have too many tabs open, I'll try to figure out, like, I'll have let's see. Like this, I'll have just a link to like a daily list, and then like things I've used that day.
Cool.
Those will go like on this link list.
Oh, that's really nice. I keep a Google Doc with all of my special links. That's similar, but I've never considered doing it by date. So this idea behind doing it by date, that you like, what is the organization thought there?
The thought is, well, if I do it by date, I see how recent something is. And I can sort of group it by what was I working on in that point, and then I'll be able to like figure out, like, okay, this is something I was working on a while back, and then I can sort of hone in on where I might have been doing that. And it's just I don't think too much about it way to log them, because if I try to categorize them, I'll spend all day just categorizing everything. So I try to do it just by that date, and then if I need anything extra on it, like in Rome, I can just add these hashes and it'll tag them, and then it'll collate everything I have on there together. So every time you link something in Rome, it'll try to find auto like links and grab other things that have been linked the same way in these references. So that's kind of cool. I like using it for that over a simple Google Doc. Yeah.
Ah, cool. Yeah, I know people love Rome, but I haven't used it before, so it's cool to see how you're using it.
Yeah. But if you don't want to, if you just want to try out the sort of same logic, Obsidian is like a local-ish version. I call it a local version of Rome. It just has very similar features, but you can run it locally.
Okay.
It's just a Mac app.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I always find
Oh,
with my special notes doc that I will look for, I just don't, it's not very findable. Like it's such a wall of text that I'm looking for something that's just like blue underlines everywhere. I'm just like, I can't find what I want.
Yeah, I don't like Google Docs I've tried using it for notes and everything, but I just, even the king of search, Google, and you think it's only, doesn't work very well in other apps. To try to find something on Google Docs or on Drive, it seems to fall apart more than it should. Yeah. It's weird that it's not the same level of search that it is for the web. Find it in web, but on Drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably different priorities. Yeah. All right.
Okay. So we have some questions. We have fewer answers.
That's usually how it goes in the initial phase. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess because I think the other question that you needed final approval on or thought on is like what is the time, right? Like what is the window of time when somebody can have OBS? And because no, actually, I was gonna ask like, so does that then mean that is this only available for groups with SAML enforcement? Because if it was on a group without SAML enforcement, then there could be non-SAML users, which means that none of those users could approve MRs anymore.
Yeah, it would make sense to only have it there, right?
Yeah. So that's just some additional, I guess, logic to think about in terms of when you introduce the setting. Like maybe they can't enable this setting unless they have SAML enforced as well. So that would be like an active record validation. And
sure.
Hi, Joseph. Smitty's here too. Smitty knows a lot about SAML.
Not a lot. Little, yeah.
Well,
all the experts combined
as much as
here.
anyone can know. I feel like Drew is our official person who knows everything about SAML, and not even Drew knows everything. So we just have to use the powers of our brains combined.
Yeah, I don't doubt that not everyone can keep all of SAML in their head. It's just too much. When I started looking at it last week, I felt very overwhelmed with all the subclasses and even more subclasses. Yeah.
Well, I saw in your Rome notes that you had on your to-do for yesterday to set up SAML auth with GDK. Were you able to do that okay?
Haven't started that yet. No.
Okay.
I just yeah.
Okay. Because we also could help you do that if you wanted. I've done that a few times. It's pretty, I think the docs are pretty good, but also I've done it a few times, so maybe I'm
that helps.
biased.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Group SAML. Yep. So you run your
I don't even think I have this prerequisite yet.
Oh yes, this is a fun one.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
I need a local cert as well.
Yes. And what I learned doing this is that GDK YAML, there are a lot of places. Do you run your GDK on localhost 3000 right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of places in gdk.yaml that just like assume that. And so then when you change over to gdk.test, it will, oh, it's interesting. It's now recommending gdk.localhost, which that's a change since I last set this up. I have it on gdk.test. Anyways, there's a lot of things you have to manually update because your GDK goes nuts. Randy's nodding.
All right.
Randy, do
Yeah,
you
I'm
run
gonna.
a GDK.localhost? Or
No, I'm
GDK.test?
not. That's what GTK.test it is. It looks like a recent change.
Although
There's a stuffed monkey banging on my window.
Wow.
who's there?
My daughter's going off to kindergarten. She always hands me her stuffed monkey to watch out for while she's gone.
Aww.
That's so
Nice.
sweet.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna take this opportunity to jump off. And I'm gonna try to get this running. And if I run into something, I'll take you up on your opportunity to walk through that.
Okay. Yeah. Just one note. I noticed that you're not on master or main or whatever the primary branch is for GDK. I wonder if that's why it's showing different information than what's latest.
Oh yeah, that is
2019, which is very old.
Yeah, I was also thinking it's like 2019 is the last.
I think it might be main. I think it might be main.
switched over already.
It is main,
okay.
yeah.
Let me just sec. Comes a fuck. All right. Yeah, let me update that link. Good point.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Let us know if you have issues. You found the right people to talk to about SAML, so appreciate.
All right. All right. Thanks for so far.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.